Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to this quiet space, a place where minds slow down and hearts rest. Before we begin this gentle, sleepy journey, just a small moment of support. If this meditation brings you calm, comfort, or clarity, please subscribe to the channel, gently tap the like button, and leave a comment to let us know you are here. Your support helps us continue creating these peaceful spaces for your mind, for your heart. Now, there is nothing else you need to do, nothing to think about. Let's begin. Close your eyes now and slowly settle into a comfortable position. Take a gentle breath in and slowly breathe out. Let your shoulders relax, let your jaw loosen, and allow your whole body to feel heavy. The human body is a structure made of trillions of cells, and within this structure, there are processes that occur continuously, quietly, and without any conscious effort from the person whose body it is. These processes have been studied for many centuries by scientists and medical researchers. And yet, there remain aspects of how the body functions that are not entirely understood. Not because they are dramatic or unusual, but simply because the systems involved are so intricate and so interconnected that fully mapping every interaction has proven to be a slow and gradual task. That continues even now. When we speak of mysteries of the human body from a scientific perspective, we are not referring to anything supernatural or beyond the realm of biology, but rather to those ordinary biological phenomena that occur every day, every moment, in every human being, and yet the precise mechanisms by which they occur, or the exact reasons why they occur in the specific ways that they do, have not yet been completely documented or explained by the scientific community. This does not mean that these processes are unknowable, but only that the work of understanding them fully is ongoing, methodical, and requires many years of careful observation, experimentation, and analysis. In the field of human biology, researchers examine the body at many different levels. From the molecular level, where individual proteins interact with one another, to the cellular level, where billions of cells perform their specific functions, to the tissue level, where groups of similar cells work together, to the organ level, where different tissues combine to form structures with particular roles, and finally, to the level of the whole organism, where all of these systems integrate to maintain life. At each of these levels, there are interactions and processes that are well understood, and there are also interactions and processes that remain partially understood, not because they are hidden or secretive, but simply because the complexity of the systems involved means that researchers are still gathering data, still conducting experiments, still refining their models of how things work. The pace of this research is steady and deliberate, and new findings are added to the body of knowledge gradually, year by year, as scientists work quietly in laboratories and clinics around the world. One of the areas that has long been a subject of study and reflection is the nature of consciousness and awareness. Consciousness, in the context of human biology, refers to the state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings, of being able to perceive sensory information, to process that information, and to generate thoughts and responses. From a biological standpoint, consciousness arises from the activity of the brain, specifically from the coordinated firing of billions of neurons that communicate with one another through electrical and chemical signals. These neurons are organized into networks, and these networks are constantly active, constantly sending signals back and forth, and it is from this constant activity that the experience of being aware, of being conscious, slowly and quietly emerges. The exact manner in which the physical activity of neurons gives rise to the subjective experience of awareness is something that scientists are still working to understand in full detail. This is not to say that consciousness is mysterious in a dramatic or mystical sense, but rather that the relationship between neural activity and subjective experience is a complex one that requires careful study and careful thought. The human brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, And each of these neurons can form thousands of connections with other neurons, resulting in a network of staggering complexity. This network is not static, but is constantly changing, constantly adapting, as new connections are formed and old connections are strengthened or weakened based on experience and learning. The brain is divided into many different regions, and each region has specific functions, though these functions often overlap and interact with one another in ways that are not always straightforward. Some regions of the brain are involved in processing sensory information from the eyes, the ears, the skin, and other sensory organs. Other regions are involved in controlling movement, in regulating emotions, in forming memories, in generating speech, in making decisions. All of these regions work together, and the connections between them allow for the integration of information and the coordination of responses. Despite the vast amount of research that has been conducted on the brain over many decades, there remain aspects of brain function that are not fully understood, not because they are fundamentally unknowable, but because the systems involved are so complex and so interconnected that mapping every detail is a task that takes time, patience, and the gradual accumulation of knowledge. One of the most ordinary and yet scientifically interesting aspects of human biology is the need for sleep. Every human being, without exception, experiences the need to sleep on a regular basis, and this need is not optional, but is a fundamental requirement for health and well-being. Sleep is a state in which the body and brain enter a period of reduced activity, reduced responsiveness to external stimuli, and altered consciousness. During sleep, many processes occur that are essential for maintaining the function of the body and the brain. The exact reasons why sleep is necessary and why the body requires this period of rest have been the subject of extensive research, and while much has been learned about the functions of sleep not completely understood in every detail. What is known is that sleep serves multiple functions, and these functions occur simultaneously during the hours that a person is asleep. One function of sleep is related to the restoration and repair of the body during waking hours. The body is active, the muscles are working, the organs are functioning at a relatively high level of activity, and this activity generates wear and tear at the cellular level. Sleep provides a period during which the body can focus on repair processes, during which damaged cells can be repaired or replaced, during which tissues can be restored to their optimal state. This process of repair is not dramatic or sudden, but is gradual and continuous, occurring quietly throughout the hours of sleep. The cells of the body have mechanisms for detecting damage and for initiating repair processes. And these mechanisms are particularly active during sleep, when the body is not focused on responding to external demands. Another function of sleep is related to the brain and to the processing of information during waking hours. The brain is constantly receiving sensory information, constantly processing that information, constantly forming new memories and new connections between neurons. The sheer volume of information that the brain processes during the day is enormous, and sleep provides a period during which the brain can organize this information, can consolidate memories, can strengthen important neural connections, and weaken connections that are less important. This process of memory consolidation occurs during specific stages of sleep, and it is during these stages that the brain reviews the experiences of the day, sorting through them, deciding which experiences are worth retaining and which can be discarded. This is not a conscious process, but is an automatic process that occurs without any awareness on the part of the sleeping person. Sleep occurs in cycles, and each cycle consists of several stages. These stages are defined by changes in brain activity, changes in eye movement, and changes in muscle tone. The stages of sleep are typically divided into non-rapid eye movement sleep, often abbreviated as NREM sleep, and rapid eye movement sleep, often abbreviated as REM sleep. NREM sleep is further divided into several stages, each characterized by progressively deeper levels of sleep. In the first stage of NREM sleep, which is the lightest stage, the brain begins to slow down. The muscles begin to relax, and the person may drift in and out of consciousness, experiencing brief periods of awareness, followed by brief periods of drowsiness. This stage is transitional, a gradual shift from wakefulness to sleep. In the second stage of NREM sleep, brain activity continues to slow, and the person becomes less responsive to external stimuli. This stage occupies a significant portion of the total sleep period and is characterized by specific patterns of brain activity that can be observed using electroencephalography, a technique that measures the electrical activity of the brain. In the third stage of NREM sleep, which is the deepest stage, brain activity slows even further, and the person becomes very difficult to wake. It is during this stage that many of the restorative processes of sleep are thought to occur as the body focuses on repair and regeneration after a period of deep NREM sleep. The brain transitions into REM sleep. During REM sleep, brain activity increases. The eyes move rapidly beneath the closed eyelids, and dreaming is most likely to occur. These cycles of NREM and REM sleep repeat throughout the night, with each cycle lasting approximately 90 minutes, though the duration of the stages within each cycle varies as the night progresses. The phenomenon of dreaming has been a subject of interest and study for many years, and while much has been learned about when and how dreaming occurs, the precise purpose of dreams and the reasons why the brain generates these experiences during sleep remain areas of ongoing research. Dreams are subjective experiences that occur during sleep, most commonly during REM sleep, though they can also occur during other stages. During a dream, the sleeping person may experience vivid sensory perceptions, may see images, may hear sounds, may feel emotions, and may have the sense of being present in a particular place or situation, even though the body is lying still and the eyes are closed. The content of dreams can vary widely from mundane and ordinary scenarios to unusual and surreal sequences that do not follow the logic of waking life. Some dreams are remembered upon waking, while others are forgotten almost immediately, and the reasons why. Some dreams are retained in memory, while others are not, is another area of ongoing study. From a neurological perspective, dreaming appears to be related to the activity of the brain during sleep, particularly during REM sleep, when certain areas of the brain become more active while other areas become less active. The visual cortex, which processes visual information, shows increased activity during REM sleep, which may account for the visual imagery that is often a prominent feature of dreams. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, which is involved in logical reasoning and decision-making shows decreased activity during REM sleep, which may explain why dreams often lack the coherent structure and logical consistency that characterizes waking thought. The brain during REM sleep is also characterized by a high level of activity in areas involved in emotion and memory, which may contribute to the emotional content of dreams and to the way that dreams often incorporate memories and experiences from waking life. The exact function of dreaming, if indeed there is a specific function, is not entirely clear. Some researchers have proposed that dreaming serves a role in memory consolidation, allowing the brain to process and integrate new information with existing knowledge. Others have suggested that dreaming may serve an emotional regulation function, allowing the brain to work through emotions and experiences in a safe, simulated environment. Still others have proposed that dreams may have no specific function at all, but may simply be a byproduct of the brain's activity during sleep, a sort of random neural noise that the brain attempts to interpret as meaningful experiences. All of these ideas are areas of active research, and it is likely that the true nature of dreaming involves multiple factors and multiple functions that interact in complex ways. The human body has a remarkable capacity to heal itself, and this capacity operates largely without any conscious control or awareness. When the skin is cut or scraped, when a bone is fractured, when tissues are damaged by infection or injury, the body immediately begins a series of processes designed to repair the damage and restore normal function. These processes involve the coordinated activity of many different types of cells, many different signaling molecules, and many different biological pathways, all working together in an organized and systematic way. The process of healing is not instantaneous, but occurs gradually, over time, progressing through several distinct phases, each characterized by specific cellular activities and specific biochemical events. The first phase of healing begins immediately after an injury occurs and is characterized by the body's attempt to stop any bleeding and to prevent infection when a blood vessel is damaged. Cells in the vessel wall and platelets in the blood work together to form a clot, a temporary plug that seals the breach and prevents further blood loss. At the same time, the immune system is activated and white blood cells are drawn to the site of the injury, where they work to destroy any bacteria or other foreign material that may have entered the body through the wound. This initial phase is often accompanied by inflammation, which is characterized by redness, warmth, swelling, and pain in the affected area. Inflammation is not a malfunction, but is a normal and necessary part of the healing process, a sign that the body is responding to the injury and is working to repair the damage. The second phase of healing involves the growth of new tissue to replace the tissue that was damaged or destroyed. This phase is characterized by the proliferation of cells, particularly fibroblasts, which are cells that produce collagen and other structural proteins. Collagen is a key component of connective tissue and provides strength and structure to the healing wound. As fibroblasts multiply and produce collagen, they gradually fill in the damaged area, forming new tissue that bridges the gap left by the injury. At the same time, new blood vessels begin to grow into the healing tissue, a process called angiogenesis, which ensures that the newly formed tissue receives an adequate supply of oxygen and nutrients. This phase of healing takes time, often several days, to to several weeks, depending on the size and severity of the injury. And during this time, the wound gradually closes and the new tissue begins to take shape. The third phase of healing involves the remodeling of the newly formed tissue. During this phase, the initial collagen that was laid down by fibroblasts is gradually reorganized and strengthened. The tissue is reshaped and refined, becoming more organized and more similar in structure to the original tissue. Excess cells and excess collagen are removed, and the tissue gradually matures and gains strength. This remodeling phase can continue for months or even years after the initial injury, and it is during this phase that a scar, if one forms, gradually becomes less prominent and less noticeable. Throughout all of these phases, the body's healing processes operate automatically, guided by complex interactions between cells and signaling molecules, without any need for conscious direction or control. Many of the body's most essential functions occur automatically, without any conscious thought or effort. Breathing, for example, is a process that continues day and night, whether a person is awake or asleep, whether they are thinking about it or not. The act of breathing is controlled by a region of the brainstem called the respiratory center. This region monitors the levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood and adjusts the rate and depth of breathing accordingly. When carbon dioxide levels in the blood rise, indicating that the body needs to expel more of this waste product, the respiratory center sends signals to the muscles involved in breathing, causing them to contract and expand. The lungs. Air is drawn into the lungs. Oxygen is transferred from the air into the bloodstream, and carbon dioxide is transferred from the bloodstream into the air, which is then exhaled. This entire process occurs rhythmically, automatically, many times per minute, throughout a person's entire life, without any need for conscious awareness or conscious control. Of course, breathing can be controlled voluntarily to some extent. A person can choose to hold their breath or to breathe more rapidly or more slowly. But even when a person is not thinking about breathing, the body continues to breathe on its own, ensuring that the tissues of the body receive a constant supply of oxygen. Similarly, the heartbeat is another automatic process that continues without interruption throughout a person's life. The heart is a muscular organ that pumps blood throughout the body, delivering oxygen and nutrients to the tissues and removing waste products. The heart beats in a regular rhythm, contracting and relaxing in a coordinated pattern, ensuring that blood flows efficiently through the circulatory system. The heartbeat is controlled by specialized cells within the heart itself, cells that generate electrical signals at regular intervals. These electrical signals spread through the heart muscle, causing the muscle cells to contract in a synchronized manner. The rate of the heartbeat is influenced by many factors, including physical activity, emotional state, and the body's need for oxygen. The heart rate is regulated by the autonomic nervous system, which adjusts the rate up or down as needed without any conscious input from the person during sleep. When the body's metabolic demands are lower, the heart rate typically slows, and the heart continues to beat steadily and rhythmically, pumping blood throughout the body, hour after hour, night after night, without any need for conscious thought or awareness. Digestion is yet another automatic process, one that begins when food enters the mouth and continues for many hours as the food is broken down, absorbed, and processed by the digestive system. The digestive system is a long, complex series of organs and structures that work together to extract nutrients from food and to eliminate waste. The process begins with chewing, which mechanically breaks down food into smaller pieces, and with the secretion of saliva, which contains enzymes that begin the chemical breakdown of carbohydrates. From the mouth, food travels down the esophagus to the stomach, where it is mixed with stomach acid and digestive enzymes, further breaking down the food into a semi-liquid mixture. This mixture then passes into the small intestine, where the majority of nutrient absorption occurs. The walls of the small intestine are lined with tiny, finger-like projections called villi, which greatly increase the surface area available for absorption. Nutrients from the digested food pass through the walls of the small intestine into the bloodstream, where they are transported to cells throughout the body. The remaining material, which consists of indigestible fiber and waste products, passes into the large intestine, where water is absorbed and the waste is gradually formed into stool, which is eventually eliminated from the body. All of these processes are coordinated by the enteric nervous system, sometimes called the second brain, a complex network of neurons that lines the walls of the digestive tract and controls the movement of food through the system, the secretion of digestive enzymes, and the absorption of nutrients. The enteric nervous system operates largely independently of the brain, though it does communicate with the brain and is influenced by factors such as stress and emotion throughout the entire process of digestion, which can take many hours. From start to finish, the body works quietly and automatically, breaking down food and extracting the nutrients needed to sustain life. The immune system is another system that operates continuously and automatically, working quietly in the background to protect the body from infection and disease. The immune system is a complex network of cells, tissues, and organs that work together to identify and destroy pathogens, such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites, as well as to remove damaged or abnormal cells from the body. The immune system is always active, always vigilant, constantly monitoring the body for signs of infection or illness. White blood cells, which are the primary cells of the immune system, circulate through the bloodstream and through the lymphatic system, patrolling the body and searching for anything that might pose a threat. When a pathogen is detected, the immune system responds by mounting an attack, deploying various types of white blood cells and signaling molecules to neutralize and eliminate the threat. Some white blood cells, called phagocytes, engulf and digest pathogens directly. Other white blood cells, called lymphocytes, produce antibodies, which are proteins that specifically recognize and bind to pathogens, marking them for destruction. The immune system also has a memory function, which allows it to remember pathogens that it has encountered before, and to mount a faster and more effective response if the same pathogen is encountered again in the future. All of these processes occur automatically without any conscious awareness or control, and the immune system works continuously, day and night, to keep the body healthy and to protect it from harm. In recent years, researchers have become increasingly interested in the connection between the gut and the brain, a relationship that is often referred to as the gut-brain axis. The gut and the brain are connected through multiple pathways, including the nervous system, the immune system, and the endocrine system. And these connections allow for communication in both directions. The gut, which is home to trillions of microorganisms, collectively known as the gut microbiota, produces many of the same neurotransmitters that are found in the brain, including serotonin, dopamine, and gamma-aminobutyric acid. These neurotransmitters can influence mood, behavior, and cognitive function, and there is growing evidence that the composition of the gut microbiota can have effects on mental health and on conditions such as anxiety and depression. The gut also produces hormones and signaling molecules that can affect the brain, and the brain, in turn, can influence the function of the gut through the autonomic nervous system. Stress, for example, can affect digestion and can contribute to gastrointestinal symptoms such as nausea, stomach pain, and changes in bowel habits. The gut-brain axis is an area of active research, and scientists are working to understand the complex interactions between the gut and the brain, and the ways in which these interactions influence overall health and well-being. The relationship between the gut and the brain is not dramatic or sudden, but is a continuous, ongoing interaction that occurs quietly, constantly, without any conscious awareness. There are many small, ordinary behaviors and sensations that occur throughout the day and night. Behaviors that are so common and so routine that they are often taken for granted. And yet, each of these behaviors has underlying biological mechanisms that are not always fully understood. Yawning, for example, is something that every person does, often multiple times a day, and yet, the exact reason why people yawn is not entirely clear. Yawning is characterized by a deep inhalation of air, often accompanied by stretching of the jaw, and sometimes stretching of the limbs, followed by a slow exhalation. Yawning is often associated with tiredness and with the transition between wakefulness and sleep, but it also occurs in situations that have nothing to do with sleepiness, such as when a person is bored or when they see someone else yawn. One theory is that yawning helps to increase oxygen intake and to remove excess carbon dioxide from the lungs. But studies have shown that yawning does not significantly change the levels of oxygen or carbon dioxide in the blood. which suggests that this is not the primary function. Another theory is that yawning helps to cool the brain by increasing blood flow and by bringing cooler air into the nasal and oral cavities. And there is some evidence to support this idea, but it is not conclusive. Yet another theory is that yawning serves a social function, helping to synchronize the behavior of individuals within a group. And the fact that yawning is contagious, that seeing someone else yawn often triggers a yawn in oneself, lends some support to this idea. The exact reason why people yawn and why yawning is contagious remains an area of ongoing study, and it is likely that yawning serves multiple functions, or that its function has changed over the course of human evolution. Stretching is another common behavior that occurs frequently throughout the day, and particularly upon waking from sleep. Stretching involves extending the limbs and the torso, often accompanied by a feeling of relief or satisfaction. Stretching helps to relieve muscle tension, to increase blood flow to the muscles, and to improve flexibility. It is a behavior that occurs in many animals, not just in humans, and it appears to serve a function in maintaining musculoskeletal health. During sleep, the body remains relatively still for extended periods, and the muscles can become stiff and tense. Stretching upon waking helps to counteract this stiffness and to prepare the muscles for movement. Stretching also stimulates the nervous system and can help to increase alertness and to signal to the body that it is time to transition from a state of rest to a state of activity. The sensation of tiredness, the feeling of needing to rest or to sleep, is another common experience, one that occurs at regular intervals throughout the day and night. Tiredness is influenced by many factors, including the amount of time that a person has been awake, the time of day, the level of physical and mental activity and the quality of previous sleep. The body has internal mechanisms that regulate the sleep-wake cycle, mechanisms that involve the interaction of multiple brain regions and multiple signaling molecules, including a hormone called melatonin, which is produced by the pineal gland in response to darkness, and which helps to promote sleep. The sensation of tiredness is the body's way of signaling that it is time to rest, that the systems of the body need a period of reduced activity in order to recover and to prepare for the next period of wakefulness. Aging is a process that affects every cell, every tissue, and every organ in the body, and it is a process that begins at birth and continues throughout the entire lifespan. At the cellular level, aging is associated with the gradual accumulation of damage to DNA, to proteins, and to other cellular structures. This damage occurs as a result of normal metabolic processes which produce byproducts such as reactive oxygen species, molecules that can react with and damage cellular components. Cells have mechanisms for repairing this damage, and these repair mechanisms work continuously throughout life, but over time, the repair mechanisms become less efficient and the damage accumulates. As cells age, they may become less able to perform their normal functions. They may divide more slowly or stop dividing altogether, and they may even enter a state called senescence, in which they remain alive but no longer contribute to the normal function of the tissue. Senescent cells can accumulate in tissues and can secrete signaling molecules that contribute to inflammation and to the aging of surrounding cells. The accumulation of damaged cells and the decline in the efficiency of cellular repair mechanisms thought to be major contributors to the aging process and to the increased susceptibility to disease that occurs with advancing age. Aging is not a sudden event, but is a gradual, continuous process, one that occurs slowly over many years and decades, and the rate at which aging occurs can be influenced by many factors, including genetics, lifestyle, diet, and environmental exposures. The body has many systems that work to maintain stability and to keep internal conditions within a narrow range, a process known as homeostasis. Homeostasis involves the regulation of many different physiological variables, including body temperature, blood pressure, blood sugar levels, fluid balance, and the pH of the blood. The body continuously monitors these variables using specialized sensors, and when a variable deviates from its normal range, the body activates mechanisms to bring it back into balance. The regulation of body temperature, for example, involves sensors in the skin and in the hypothalamus, a region of the brain that detects changes in temperature. If the body becomes too hot, the hypothalamus activates mechanisms to cool the body down, such as sweating and the dilation of blood vessels in the skin, which increases heat loss. If the body becomes too cold, the hypothalamus activates mechanisms to warm the body up, such as shivering, which generates heat through muscle activity and the constriction of blood vessels in the skin, which reduces heat loss. These mechanisms operate automatically without any conscious control, and they work continuously to maintain body temperature within the narrow range that is necessary for normal cellular function. Similarly, the regulation of blood sugar levels involves the detection of glucose levels in the blood by specialized cells in the pancreas. When blood sugar levels rise, such as after a meal, the pancreas secretes secretes insulin, a hormone that promotes the uptake of glucose by cells and the storage of glucose as glycogen in the liver and muscles. When blood sugar levels fall, such as between meals, the pancreas secretes glucagon, a hormone that promotes the breakdown of glycogen and the release of glucose into the bloodstream. These mechanisms work together to keep blood sugar levels stable, ensuring that cells have a constant supply of energy. All of the body's homeostatic mechanisms involve negative feedback loops in which the response to a change works to counteract that change and to restore the system to its normal state. These feedback loops operate continuously, quietly, without any conscious awareness, maintaining the internal stability that is necessary for life. Pain is a sensation that serves an important protective function, alerting the body to the presence of injury or damage and motivating behaviors that help to prevent further harm. Pain is perceived when specialized sensory receptors, called nociceptors, which are located throughout the body, are activated by stimuli such as heat, pressure, or chemical irritation. When nociceptors are activated, they send signals through sensory nerves to the spinal cord and then to the brain, where the signals are processed and interpreted as pain. The perception of pain, however, is not a simple or straightforward process, and it can vary considerably from person to person and from situation to situation. The intensity of pain that a person experiences in response to a given stimulus can be influenced by many factors, including the person's emotional state, their expectations, their previous experiences with pain, and the context in which the pain occurs. The brain has mechanisms for modulating pain signals, mechanisms that can either amplify or reduce the perception of pain depending on the circumstances. For example, During a situation that requires intense focus or that involves a high level of stress, the brain can suppress pain signals, allowing a person to continue functioning even in the presence of injury. This is why soldiers in combat or athletes in competition may not immediately notice injuries that would ordinarily be quite painful. Conversely, in situations where a person is anxious or fearful, the brain may amplify pain signals, making the pain feel more intense than it would otherwise. The perception of pain is also influenced by the release of endogenous opioids, chemicals produced by the brain that have pain-relieving effects, similar to those of opiate drugs, such as morphine. These endogenous opioids are released in response to pain and to stress, and they work to reduce the intensity of pain signals. The variability in pain perception and the ways in which pain can be modulated by the brain are areas of ongoing research, and understanding these mechanisms has important implications for the treatment of chronic pain and for the development of new pain management strategies. During the period of sleep, particularly during the deeper stages of sleep, the body undergoes many subtle changes that reflect the shift from an active, wakeful state to a state of rest and recovery. The heart rate slows, the blood pressure decreases, the breathing becomes slower and more regular, and the muscles relax. The metabolic rate, which is the rate at which the body uses energy, decreases during sleep, reflecting the reduced activity of the body's systems. The brain, however, remains active during sleep, though its activity is different from the activity that occurs during wakefulness. During the lighter stages of sleep, brain activity gradually slows, and the brain waves become larger and slower, a pattern that can be observed using electroencephalography. During the deeper stages of sleep, the brain waves become even larger and slower, and it is during these stages that the body is thought to focus on repair and restoration. During REM sleep, brain activity increases again, and the brain waves become faster and more similar to the brain waves that occur during wakefulness. Though the body remains deeply relaxed and the muscles are temporarily paralyzed, a state that prevents the body from acting out the movements that occur in dreams throughout the night. As a person cycles through the different stages of sleep, the body moves through these patterns of activity and rest. These patterns of increased and decreased metabolic demand, these patterns of repair and consolidation, all occurring automatically, all occurring without any conscious awareness or conscious control. As the night progresses and the hours of sleep accumulate, the body continues its quiet work, continues the processes of repair and restoration, continues the cycles of NREM and REM sleep, continues the gradual, steady maintenance of the systems that sustain life. The immune system continues to patrol the body, continues to search for and eliminate pathogens, continues to repair damage and to remove cellular debris. The digestive system continues to process the remnants of the last meal, continues to absorb nutrients, continues to move waste through the intestines toward elimination. The endocrine system continues to regulate hormone levels, continues to maintain the balance of the body's internal environment, continues to prepare the body for the transition from sleep to wakefulness that will occur with the coming of morning. The cells of the body continue to perform their individual functions, continue to produce energy, continue to synthesize proteins and other molecules, continue to divide and to differentiate and to replace damaged or worn out cells. All of these processes occur simultaneously, all of them interconnected, all of them coordinated by the complex web of signaling pathways and feedback loops that characterize living systems. The transition from wakefulness to sleep is not a sudden event, but a gradual process, a slow shift from one state to another, a gentle fading of consciousness as the brain's activity changes and as the body's systems begin to slow as a person lies in bed, as the lights are turned off, and the room becomes quiet, as the body settles into a comfortable position, the process of falling asleep begins. The eyes may close, the breathing may slow, the muscles may begin to relax, and the mind may begin to drift. Thoughts becoming less focused, less coherent, less connected to the external world. This is the first stage of sleep, the transitional stage, the stage in which the boundary between wakefulness and sleep becomes blurred, the stage in which awareness begins to fade. The brain's electrical activity begins to change. The fast, irregular waves that characterize wakefulness begin to give way to slower, more regular waves, and the person may experience brief moments of awareness, alternating with brief moments of drowsiness, a gentle oscillation between the two states. As the minutes pass, as the body continues to relax, and as the brain's activity continues to slow, the person moves deeper into sleep, moves into the second stage, the stage in which the person is clearly asleep, but can still be awakened relatively easily. The breathing becomes more regular. The heart rate continues to slow, and the person becomes less and less aware of the external environment, less and less responsive to sounds and to other stimuli. As sleep deepens further, as the person moves into the third stage, the stage of deep sleep, the brain waves become larger and slower still, and the person becomes very difficult to wake. It is during this stage that the body's restorative processes are most active, that growth hormone is released, that tissues are repaired, that the immune system is strengthened. The person remains in this state of deep sleep for a period of time, and then the brain begins to transition into REM sleep, into the stage during which dreaming is most likely to occur, the stage during which the brain becomes more active, even as the body remains deeply relaxed. The cycles continue, the brain moving from light sleep to deep sleep to REM sleep and back again, each cycle lasting approximately 90 minutes, each cycle contributing to the overall restorative function of sleep. The proportion of time spent in each stage varies across the cycles, with deep sleep being more prominent in the earlier cycles of the night, and REM sleep being more prominent in the later cycles. As the night wears on, as the hours of sleep accumulate, the body continues its work, continues the processes that occur only during sleep, continues the quiet, unseen maintenance that is essential for health and for life. The person sleeping is unaware of all of this activity, is unaware of the cycles of sleep, is unaware of the changes in brain activity and in body function, is simply present in the state of sleep, a state of reduced consciousness, a state of rest. The body's activity gradually reduces during rest. The metabolic demands decrease. The energy expenditure declines, and the systems of the body operate at a lower level of intensity. The muscles are relaxed. The limbs are still. The breathing is slow and steady. The heart beats with a calm and regular rhythm. The eyes, beneath their closed lids, may move slowly during the lighter stages of sleep, may move rapidly during REM sleep, but the body as a whole remains still, remains in a state of repose. The brain continues its activity, continues its work of processing information, of consolidating memories, of maintaining the basic functions that are necessary for life. But this activity occurs in a context of reduced external input, reduced demand for conscious attention, reduced need for deliberate action. The person is not aware of their surroundings, is not aware of the passage of time, is simply present in the state of sleep, a state that is both passive and active, a state that is both restful and productive as the body enters deeper sleep states, as the brain waves slow, and as the muscles relax further. The level of consciousness continues to diminish. The awareness of the self and of the external world fades further and further into the background. The person moves into a state of profound rest, a state in which the boundary between self and non-self becomes indistinct, a state in which thoughts and sensations, if they occur at all, are fleeting ephemeral, arising and dissolving, without leaving any lasting trace. This is the state in which the body is most deeply at rest, the state in which the restorative processes of sleep are most fully engaged, the state in which the person is furthest removed from the concerns and activities of waking life. The body continues its automatic functions, continues to breathe, continues to circulate blood, continues to maintain temperature, and to regulate internal systems. But all of this occurs quietly, smoothly, without any need for conscious involvement, without any need for awareness or attention. The gradual slowing of awareness, the gentle fading of consciousness, the soft transition from wakefulness to sleep, and from lighter sleep to deeper sleep. All of these occur naturally, automatically, as part of the body's normal circadian rhythms, as part of the regular cycle of activity and rest that characterizes all living organisms. The body knows when it is time to rest, knows when it is time to sleep, and the systems that regulate sleep and wakefulness operate continuously, monitoring the internal state of the body, monitoring the external environment, adjusting the balance between wakefulness and sleep to ensure that the body receives the rest that it needs. This regulation occurs without any conscious effort, without any deliberate decision, without any need for thought or planning. The body simply moves through its cycles, moves through its rhythms, moves through the processes that sustain life. And sleep is one of these processes, one of these essential components of the complex system that is the human body. The processes continue, the cycles continue, the quiet work of the body continues through the hours of the night, through the hours of sleep, through the gradual, gentle movement from one state to another, from one stage to another, from one level of consciousness to another. The body rests, the brain processes, the cells repair, the systems regulate, and all of this occurs in the calm, quiet darkness of sleep, in the absence of awareness, in the absence of conscious thought, in the state of profound rest that allows the body to recover, to restore, to prepare for the next period of wakefulness, the next day of activity, the next cycle of life. The breathing remains slow, remains steady. The heart continues its rhythmic beating. The muscles remain relaxed, and the person continues to sleep, continues to rest, continues to move through the cycles of sleep, deeper and deeper into rest, quieter and quieter in awareness, softer and softer in consciousness, until awareness itself becomes barely perceptible, becomes almost indistinguishable from the absence of awareness, becomes simply a background presence, a dim flickering at the edge of perception, fading gradually, slowly, gently, into the darkness, into the stillness, into the profound rest of deep and dreamless sleep. The body remains still. The weight of the body is fully supported. There is no effort, no need for movement, no need for adjustment. The surface beneath the body feels stable and unmoving. The sensation of contact between the body and the bed is constant, predictable, unchanging. The breath continues, moving in and moving out at its own pace, without instruction, without intention. Each breath follows the one before it, naturally, quietly. The chest rises slightly and then falls. The abdomen moves gently and then becomes still again. There is no need to notice it, no need to follow it. The body already knows how to breathe. The mind does not need to participate. The sounds around you, if there are any, become less distinct, less defined. They blend together into a soft background, a distant hum, without shape, without meaning. The brain no longer attempts to identify them, no longer assigns importance. They simply pass, without reaction, without response. Thoughts, if they arise at all, do so slowly, without urgency, without direction. They appear and then dissolve like faint impressions that leave no trace. The mind does not hold on to them, does not examine them, does not follow them forward. They fade before becoming complete. Memory loosens its grip. The sense of time becomes less precise. Minutes and moments no longer feel separate. There is only this ongoing state of rest, of softness, of reduced awareness. The muscles continue to release. The small muscles around the eyes, around the mouth, around the jaw become slack. The tongue rests. The teeth remain slightly apart. The neck feels supported. The shoulders sink lower and lower. The arms feel heavy, as though gravity itself has increased slightly. The hands remain open. The fingers curl naturally, without tension, without intention. The legs remain still. The hips settle. The knees rest. The feet fall outward, finding their own position. There is no need to hold the body upright. No need to maintain posture. The work of staying awake has already ended. The nervous system continues to shift from alertness to maintenance to quiet regulation. Signals slow. Communication between regions of the brain becomes less demanding, less complex. The systems that require attention step back. The systems that require rest take over. Hormones associated with wakefulness decrease gradually. Hormones associated with sleep circulate gently, without sensation, without awareness. The body temperature drops slightly, just enough to support deep rest. Blood flow redistributes, favoring repair, favoring maintenance, favoring stillness. Nothing needs to be directed. Nothing needs to be controlled. The body has entered its familiar pattern, a pattern it has followed thousands of times before, across many nights, across many years. This is not new. This is not uncertain. This is routine, reliable, predictable, safe. The brain continues to cycle through its slow rhythms, large, steady waves, replacing faster patterns. The sense of being here softens, becomes diffuse. no longer centered, no longer defined. Awareness does not disappear suddenly. It thins, gradually, like a sound fading into distance, still present, but no longer clear, no longer focused. The boundary between rest and deeper rest becomes subtle, almost unnoticeable. The body continues. The systems continue. The cycles continue. Without pause, without effort, without awareness. And now, as the night continues, as the body rests, as the mind drifts, as the quiet work of life flows gently within you, there is nothing else, nothing left to do, nothing to think about. This is the time for rest, for stillness, for calm. For today is complete, and all that remains is peace. May your sleep be deep and restorative. May your dreams be gentle and healing. May you wake refreshed, renewed, when the soft light of a new day arrives. Good night.